dresser of Sankimon figs. But the Lord took me from following the flock, and the Lord said to me, Go prophesy to my people Israel. Now therefore hear the word of the Lord. You shall not prophesy. You say, do not prophesy against Israel, and do not preach against the house of Isaac. Therefore, thus says the Lord, your wife shall be a prostitute in the city, and your sons and your daughters shall fall by the sword, and your land shall be divided up with a measuring line. You yourself shall die in an unclean land, and Israel shall surely go into exile away from the land.
Away from its land.
Its land. Well, there is the drama. There is the reality. Over and over again. I think, from my perspective, what we need to do, take this, boil it down as attitudes of relationships, and see where you're good and where you're not so good. It would be fair to say, I think, everyone can improve, one way or another. So, anything from you, Christina?
Nope, it's just that he drew a plumb line. And how many people can stand up straight next to the plumb line?
And that is true. Very, very good. So we continue in this. And I know some people find the Old Testament depressing, but you've got to flush it out in many different ways. Remember, he's talking to the whole people. He's not talking, he does talk to individuals, but he's talking to all people. Remember, it was a kingship. And didn't God warn them against having a king, Christina?
Yes, he did.
And maybe that's why. Because the king represents and is judged as the whole nation. Because he is the king. And that is one of the reasons why I believe God really didn't want Israel to have a king, because if they didn't have a king, then the judgment and the relationships would have been more individualized, and I think far better. That's my interpretation.
And I think that's where the church and royalty have always clashed. Was because the church felt they were the ones in power, and the king thought he was the one in power. And that's where everything clashed and everything gets ugly. Was the clashing of the church versus the rulers. And we still have it today in our religion, because there's a constant clashing of what is morally right and what will materialistically be right. Because we are told one thing from our government, and we are told another thing from God. So which one wins? And that's the conflict through all eternity, obviously, is, are you going to fall to materialistic things, or are you going to rise up with the spiritual?
Very good. All right, my friends, that is our study for today. A reminder, if you want to contact us, give me a call at 818-843-4638. If the message is for Christina, I will pass it on to her, and she will judge the evaluation if she returns your call. I'm sure she will, but that ultimately is her choice. We have both written books. My book is God's Poetic and Creational Word, and it deals with the relationship between Genesis and end of days. And Christina has written a beautiful book, very dramatic, Would you like to tell us, Christina?
Love, devotion, hell.
Say something about the book.
Well, let's see, what can I say if not to give it away? It deals with pretty much the ugly side of relationships.
May I speak, Christina? You're doing a bad job.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to speak. What it is, and you realize this as you progress in the reading. Oh my God! The drama, the depth, the different atmospheres. It's just filled. Sometimes she's a victim, sometimes she triumphs. God is in her life. I will go into some of the horrors that she was put through from her very origin. You got to read the book. So anyway, I don't think Christina does it, as most authors don't do their own books justice, or they actually think too highly of them.
Well, wait, I did say it dealt with the horrors of life.
Yeah, I know, but it didn't. I'm doing a better job.
Oh, whatever.
I
The
know.
horrors of life and knowing that.
Christina, it deals with a lot of dimensions in life, not just the horrors.
Well, if you let me finish.
Sure, go ahead.
And then, obviously, I'm still here in one piece, so it deals with the spiritual side of how you can get through it, knowing that there's someone or God with you on your side. Because that's pretty much all I had my entire life, from 3 to now, was God being there for me and always watching over me. And like I said, He takes care of you. He clothes you, He houses you, He feeds you. There is no doubt in my mind that that is not true. Because I am living proof of having absolutely no wealth of any sort, and yet here I am with a house, with a job, and I'm taking care of myself and my children. Or at least I raised them, and, they're adults now, they're good. And that's the dealings of life, of faith, and knowing God's got your back, even through the craziest times where you don't understand and you're questioning yourself as to why can this person get away with treating me the way they can and still call themselves a good Christian. And it's confusing, it's hard, and you question yourself because you're constantly being told that's your fault, and so you're always examining yourself against that plumb line. But guess what? It wasn't God's plumb line I had to walk, because I was walking it. I was straight. It was the other ones that kept pushing the line and pushing the barriers and saying, see, I can push you this far.